Alright, y'all. Today is Friday, November 20th of 2020. Each year, November 20th is a Transgender Day of Remembrance. 2020 is on pace to be the deadliest in recent years for the transgender and gender nonconforming community, according to a data analysis released by Everytown for Gun Safety ahead of the Transgender Day of Remembrance on Friday. The annual November 20th observance honors victims of fatal anti-trans violence. 2020 has seen at least 37 transgender and gender nonconforming people violently killed, more than any other year since the HRC began tracking this data in 2013. The Human Rights Commission has now tracked more than 200 deaths since 2013. I'm going to read their names. Dustin Parker from McAllister, Oklahoma. Nulisa Luciano Ruiz, Toa Baja, Puerto Rico. Yampi Mendez Arocho, Mocha, Puerto Rico. Monica Diamond from Charlotte, North Carolina. Lexi from Harlem, New York. Johanna Metzger from Baltimore, Maryland. Serena Angelique and Velasquez Ramos from Puerto Rico. Leila Peleas Sanchez from Puerto Rico. Penelope Diaz Ramirez from Puerto Rico. Nina Pop from Sikeston, Missouri. Hele J. O'Regan from San Antonio, Texas. John Scott DeVore, a.k.a. Scotland Kelly DeVore from Augusta, Georgia. Brian Egypt Powers from Akron, Ohio. Dominique Remy Fells from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Rhea Milton from Liberty Township, Ohio. Brayla Stone from Little Rock, Arkansas. Mercy Mack from Dallas, Texas. Shockey Peters from Amite City, Louisiana. Bree Black from Pompano Beach, Florida. Summer Taylor from Seattle, Washington. Marilyn Cesares from Brawley, California. Dior H. Ova from Bronx, New York. Kiasha D. Hardy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Aja Raquel Roan Spears from Portland, Oregon. Selena Reyes Hernandez from Chicago, Illinois. Tony McDade from Tallahassee, Florida. Jade Thompson from Mesa County, Colorado. Felicia Harris from Augusta, Georgia. Brooklyn Deshuna from Shreveport, Louisiana. Unieski Carey Herrera from Miami, Florida. Sarah Blackwood from Indianapolis, Indiana. Mia Green from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Michelin Ramos Vargas from San German, Puerto Rico. Angel Unique from Memphis, Tennessee. Ariane Burnett from Independence, Missouri. Leah Rashawn Day from Cleveland, Ohio. Key Sam from Lafayette, Louisiana. There are probably more who are unaccounted for on this list. I want to close out before going into the second part of my interview with Jason Gonzalez by taking a moment to not only reflect on the trans and non-binary lives lost this year, but also the hope of the show to increase visibility for Black, brown, and beige trans, non-binary, and queer people. Not just the show, but the production company I started. We see and hear enough death, and those stories will be told as they should be. But I also want to show trans, non-binary, and queer, Black, brown, and beige people thriving, being happy in spite of the world around us. God knows this year has seen enough death. There's a pandemic raging around us, and the show doesn't want to make light of that, but instead hopefully take one's mind off the world for a brief second and hopefully make one smile before returning to the ever-present state of the world around us. A moment of refuge and respite, if you will. There are countless men and women, trans and non-binary, who are doing the work inside our communities of helping our brothers, sisters, and siblings. People like Jesse Pratt Lopez, Taylor Alexander, Malik Brown, and Gabrielle Claiborne, to name a few here in Atlanta, who are making a difference inside our communities, and organizations like Lost and Found Youth, who are helping LGBTQ youth on the streets, homeless LGBTQ youth on the streets of Atlanta. I hope to Sunday make a difference and affect change they have done. So, You say their names and honor the ones who are doing the work. Thank you. I don't know how to segue into an interview. That's silliness at its best. But if you listen to nothing else in this program today, at least you heard their names. They are the ancestors now, and may they watch over us. And we are back. Wasn't that so quick and so fancy? I figured out something yesterday. I can use my little fancy little remote here.
That's nice. Yeah, we needed to end that conversation anyways.
We did. You know what I'm going to do now just for you, because I love you? No angel. Wow. Okay, look, your face is saying so much right now. Like,
I mean, this is kind of a heavy...
It is a very heavy... Okay.
It's a heavy song. I mean, there's a lot that Beyonce's saying with it. Are we going to listen to this in the interview?
We sure are.
Okay, yeah, let's go with the music review. Listen to the lyrics more than anything. I mean, wow. You lying. Wow. I love you. I thought you were. You're no angel either, baby. Come on, you know that song. No.
I don't now. I mean, I didn't before, but I do now.
Yeah. It's...
So, I'm going to do something.
Okay.
You were right. How about that? How about that? That was off of the album, though, with Pretty Hurts. And did I wear that song out? Yes, I did. Did I cry tears to that song? Yes, I did. Yeah. I didn't even listen to Partition. I was so still hooked on Pretty Hurts. But, clearly... We have to get off.
Yeah, we gotta get off Beyonce, because you got into Partition. We gotta get into something else. Then we're gonna get into how she doesn't get enough respect as a lyricist and a rapper in this game.
Oh, but no, I give her all the props.
I'm talking about the community itself. Like, have you heard Ape?
Sorry, fuck community.
Have you heard Ape Shit?
Yes, I have.
She goes off on that, probably harder than a lot of these men out here.
Okay, you know what? Since we do a music review episode, let's just do it. Maybe Beyonce will listen to us. No, she'll just flag the episode. 8.
Yeah, she'll be like, yeah, take this down. Do not approve of this shit. It's okay, B. On to this.
We're gonna stop it there for copyright reasons.
Okay.
But so
cool. Yeah.
So let's get into something we can both talk about.
All right.
Beyonce's growth as an artist and how amazing it's been. Because no, I'm serious. I've loved watching this.
No. We can't actually get into this because I think in order to have an in-depth conversation about this, you have actually had to watch Lemonade, Beyonce, and Black is King.
Look, okay.
So let's get into something that we can actually... Yeah, you're right. Let's get into something we can both talk about with knowledge, intelligence, respect.
Mm.
I
didn't want to have to do this.
What are you doing?
I did not want to have to do this.
All right, this is taking a long time. What are you actually pulling out? Are you pulling out a sword?
No, I do not have it over there. All right.
Wait, hold up. No. Oh. I thought you were about to for real pull out a sword because I saw you had a sword in your other thing.
No, look, if I wanted to pull out a sword, it's right here. It's
Wait,
fake.
can I hold it?
Yeah, it's fake.
Oh my god.
Right?
I just feel so powerful.
Right. Okay.
Can I just hold on to this the whole time?
You sure can. Okay, come on. Let's just... Right? Like, you just want to do it right there and be like, bow down, bitches.
Anyways, so... let's not talk about Beyonce.
Okay.
Because I don't want to embarrass you. So, let's move on to something else.
Here's what you'll never see a Scorpio do. I acknowledge that you know way more Beyonce than I do. I fully respect and honor that in you.
Okay, cool. So, what's the issue? I know it's your birthday. I'm a ease the tension.
No.
Let's just move on. Let's just move on. Ooh, you bet the sword. Okay, all right. Maybe we could talk about Pink. That seems more up your alley.
Wow. Okay, so let's just clear up some misconceptions here. I love Pink. But I love me some Beyonce.
The other day, she was definitely repping Pink harder than she was repping Beyonce. Let's just put that out there.
You know, who do I turn to? You're the one I love. You're the one I need. Okay. Musical review. We're gonna get away from the topic of music and we're gonna talk about art. I do, however, feel
Hold on!
we need some resolution to this conversation where we both agree on something. And I was trying to come conciliatory.
I'm sorry, you said step away from music and then go into art? Music is art. Beyonce is art.
You're looking for fights now. You're just
I'm not! That was disrespectful!
For fart.
That was disrespectful!
Fine, yes, okay, it was disrespectful, but look, it wasn't meant to be disrespectful. I was not trying to imply that Beyonce is not art. What I was trying to say, see, what had happened was...
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
What are we talking about?
I don't know, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay, I think I remember what we were talking about, like, with writing.
Wow.
Basically, I grew up in, like, a really white suburban area, and as a person of color, also being Cape Verdean and Filipino, there's identity issues there. Like, not many people know about Filipino people in America. Not many people at all know about Cape Verdean people in America.
I just want to interject, like, because I remember telling you this story about how, like, I think it was the week before we had met, and I had read, like, I was researching something about the top gay-friendliest places in Africa, and I read about Cape Verde. And then, so a week later, you and I got on a Zoom call, or FaceTime or whatever, and we were doing our first writers meetup sort of thing. And you're like, I'm Cape Verdean?
Cape Verdean.
Cape Verdean. And it was like, stop it right now. I was literally just reading about them on Wikipedia.
Yeah, they need to be put on the map. They're such an interesting culture.
Tell us more about Cape Verdeans.
So Cape Verdeans, it's an island off the west coast of Africa, and it was incepted as a slave port back in the day. And so it was by the Portuguese. So you have this really strong influence of the Portuguese on them. But mind you, these are people that literally like were shipping slaves from Africa to all different parts of the world. And so there's like a weird... In my journey, I've found like a weird rejection towards saying that I'm Portuguese, because I just feel like that's fucked up. Those people like...
No, that's fair. That's almost like saying to someone who's of Mexican descent or even Brazilian descent, like saying to someone of Brazilian descent, like you're Portuguese, or someone from Mexico, like, well, you're Spanish. It's like, stop right there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because it's like those people... You don't know the story. I mean, maybe it's like how Hollywood paints it, and there are some beautiful stories of like the slaves falling in love with their slave owners, but that just doesn't seem realistic to me. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like, okay, there's a lot of trauma that happened on those islands.
Yes.
And now there's this, like, blurred line. It's like, are we Cape Verdean? Or are we Portuguese? Or are we African? And so I've just come to the terms with just being Cape Verdean. In America, I'm a black Asian man. I have Portuguese slave owners, and I have Spaniard slave owners on the Filipino side, because Spaniards colonized the Philippines as well. It's just like...
Colonizers on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's like, when you have that influx of heritages and like races coming into it, it's like being put in a white suburbia where you don't relate to any of that, but you also don't relate to anything else, is confusing as fuck.
Not only that, but, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I would imagine too, being in suburbia where people are not the best informed, you would often be mistaken for someone from Latin America or something like that, and where it's just like, look, you're not even in the right place, stick in your lane.
Exactly. And what's crazy though is that like most Hispanic Latino people have welcomed me into their families, literally, like their families, like as soon as I step on the spot. That's the thing about the Hispanic and Latino community. They're so open and loving to their community. You know, can't say that for all of them, but in my experience, I mean, regardless if I actually am one of them or not, they are willing to claim me and own me, and for that I'm eternally grateful. I love that community. But I also didn't grow up in that community. You know what I mean? I did grow up in that community in a sense. My best friend, I mean, I hung out with her all the time, went to her family's house. They're Honduran. But in terms of, like, my own family, my own immediate family with my father and my mother, that was a weird, like, they kind of just did their own thing. I don't even know if that has its own culture. You know what I mean? Like, a Filipino Cape Verdean mix where my mom and my dad both left their families and started a new life in Florida. So it's like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't have...
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with writing, it comes from that perspective of kind of like... There's this beautiful song by Miguel called What's Normal Anyway that I think everybody should listen to. But that accurately describes not only, like, my feelings, but I think a mixed person's feelings in general in America.
And I would recommend to everyone, go listen to the What's Normal Anyway version where Miguel was singing. It was the Detroit series Inside Houses. It was so powerful. Like, you recommended that song to me before I read your first screenplay that we did in our little one-on-one writers group. And so I listened to that, and then I read the screenplay, but I was listening to that song, and it was making me emotional. Like, yeah, and then taking that into what you wrote. It was powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super powerful song, and it resonated with me deeply when I heard it. I mean, Miguel's voice is just, like, sex anyways, but for it to go along with something like that where it's like, holy shit, somebody sees me. And then also, too, like, just going to college and interacting with different races and heritages all over the world. I mean, when you go to a university, that's pretty much the only thing you get out of going to college in terms of, like, lasting, you know what I mean? Like, all the training and shit that you do for, like, whatever profession you're going into eventually evolves from what you learned in college anyways, because the world is ever evolving.
Right.
But in terms of those experiences you have with traveling, meeting people from all over the world, that's where it really informs you of, like, kind of outside of your normalcy and your family sphere and helps you realize the bigger picture of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you mind me asking what you majored in college?
I majored in theater performance, and I minored in creative writing.
I remember that part from the discussion. I just wanted to inform our audience. But no, number one, in case y'all don't know, y'all don't, but y'all should know, you're a phenomenal writer. Like,
thank you.
I mean that from the bottom of my everything. You are a phenomenal writer.
She's just plugging me for the show. It's okay.
Not just for the show. I tell you this all the time in private. But, no, like, your writing is so grounded and yet so true and so honest. And, like, it's just... You're one of the writers that I admire. Like, I can honestly say that. Like, in my mind, I'm putting you up there with...
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I won't say it out loud, but I'm just telling you, like, there's a bookshelf for you, and, like...
Well, that's the...
You bring honesty and depth to your characters. Like, there's such a realism. There's a realism in their conversation, in the way that you describe the scenes. Like, it's just...
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like writing is so personal and so, like... I don't know. It's a really weird, like, muddy water. It's like I experienced this entire situation with acting where it's like, for, like, the first part of your career with acting, it's like you kind of have to, like, believe in yourself and, like, accept what people are saying to you as true because, like, you're just so self-conscious and, like, new to it, you know? And that's how I'm feeling with writing. It's like I'm so new to it in a sense. I'm so like when anybody compliments it, it's sort of like this is too good to be true. You know what I mean? Like, so I really appreciate those comments, and I'm trying to absorb them and, like, push them forward in my confidence. But I'm just not there yet. I don't know why.
I don't blame you. It was just the start of quarantine where when someone told me that my cooking was good, I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I hate this. So
yeah, like with acting, like probably. I joined Mornell Studios in Atlanta, and I sort of started to, like, accept that I was the shit. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yes, okay. So we have opposite journeys because I started in writing, and it was like I transferred into acting, and so when... having that same conversation around my writing, it's like, yeah, I know it's this shit. Like, I know I'm a good writer. Acting wise, I was like,
Yeah.
So I imagine that's similarly to what you're feeling when someone describes your writing.
Yeah, it's weird because in college, I went through the journey with acting where it's like, I did community college and I went to this like really cool intensive in New York, and I found who I was in acting. And from there, I went to a university, like I transferred to university after community college, and I like went in. I fucked up a couple times, you know what I mean? Like I failed miserably. Like when I say miserably, like I had some of the most embarrassing failures of my life in front of an audience. You know, like I've done a lot of like basically going to hell and then coming back with acting in terms of like what I show people with live theater. It's like you have no choice but to kind of bare your soul, because if you don't, it's just gonna be shit, to be honest. So yeah, I had that whole thing, and it shifted, and then when I went out here to Atlanta, it had to take another shift because theater is totally different from film acting, and then film acting is totally different from auditioning,
isn't it?
So it's like those three shifts all happened. But like with writing in college, I remember I went into it confident as hell. I thought that I was the shit, like, and then, you know, people were like critiquing my work 'cause the way my class was set up. I think you said yours was similar, is like we would write something and then the whole class would hear it. One of my fiction class, I was able to read the story, so I kind of controlled how it was told.
Oh,
like in my screenwriting,
wow, so fancy.
Yeah, my screenwriting class, I had to assign people to play these roles, and so, but I had a good experience in screenwriting. My grade by the end wasn't reflective of my experience, though. I felt like I deserved an A, but I ended up getting a B. But then, yeah.
And I guess, so I thought about this too after our conversation that we had about that, but it's kind of like, I think for our teacher, writing is so subjective, so the only thing that she could critique on was whether you formatted it correctly. And she would dock off points for that, because it's like, other than that, like, whether you formatted correctly and you responded to someone else's critique when you're supposed to, like, those are objective things, but everything else is kind of subjective.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, my teacher was a little different. He basically was saying that like B's were things that he thought were good but weren't good enough to be produced, and then like A was like, your work is good enough to be produced. So that kind
I have problems with Sir right now. Right now.
Yeah.
So let me just take a quick little guess here. I would bet like $1 million. And I feel like you know where this guess is going, but was he an older white male?
Yeah, he was.
Where's my money? Just kidding. No.
Yeah, he that's the thing in this industry. It's like it's run by a lot of old white people, and there's nothing wrong with old white people.
No.
It's just that I don't think that they're capable of seeing exactly through the same lens. Like, I remember I was explaining to them how, like, in the Philippines, like, it's a different set of rules, you know? Like, my mom was literally taken from the Philippines and adopted by her aunt to, like, escape poverty, basically, in a sense. Like, basically to short summary that. And when I said that in front of the class, like, basically as an inspiration for my screenplay, everybody was like, oh, they can do that? Like, is that normal? And I was like, yeah. And, like, in order for my dad to marry my mom, he literally had to get permission from her father. Like, written permission so that he could legally marry her in the Philippines. That's how, like, I think, like, outside of the culture, sometimes people are not able to see. Like, you're so outside of, like, or you're so inside of American culture, you don't realize that, like, outside of American culture, there's, like, entire different ways to live and rules to live. Yeah, and so I think that really hinders a lot of people's views and their, like, opinions, which is why I think there needs to be more people of color in, like, producing positions and shit, you know?
More representation all around.
Yeah, because even, like, if you are a good white Samaritan and you're producing work, it's like, is that really a genuine lens? You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of like, do you have someone at the table who can accurately vouch, like, yes, this is being produced the way it should be produced, versus like, this is my conception of it, and so like I'm gonna go and like do this whole like menagerie type thing, and we're gonna do this about it, and it's like, but that's not truthful, is it? No, you're making an artifice all around it.
And that's my fear with putting my screenplays out there, is because I know that a majority of these producers are going to be like middle-aged or older white people, and I want to believe that they're going to be honest to my vision, but I just don't think they are, in my experience, you know. And so that's why when we have discussions, like, it's very important to me about when we're having discussions about my writing, who's going to direct it, who's going to star in it. Like, I specifically put people of color in certain roles, and race plays an integral part in all of my themes and all of my messaging for my screenplays. And every screenplay has a message, so it's like, if you fuck with that, I'm not gonna, for any amount of money, I don't think I can sell my work to you or like put it out there. I don't know. I just these are all like pessimistic thoughts,
right?
You know, and they probably won't come true, but it's like, these are my fears about putting it out. It's not even about like if people will like it. It's just, are you gonna do it justice? You know.
Do it justice. Okay, so we're going to take that thought right there. We're going to pause and go on to another episode. This is going to be episode 3, but in all honesty, episode 3 is going to linger a little bit, because this is where we just like to cut off things and just kind of get all fun and fancy free. Wow, you're really hamming up for the dip it low, all of that stuff. Also, I want you to remember, you got your very own camera right there.
Oh, shit.
Right? Sorry. Oh, yes.
I just am kind of limited, but just know that
tune in for episode 3.